All right, folks, it's Bass Action back in action here. In this video, we're going to start to introduce the idea of matrix row operations. In the next two videos, we're going to use these skills to solve systems of equations using our matrices. So we just need to start to get comfortable with how these row operations work. On the top here, I've given you the three choices for row operations. We can interchange two rows, meaning just reorder them. We can multiply a row by a constant, or we can actually add two rows together. We can also do a combination of these. So I could multiply something by a constant and add it to another. I could interchange two rows while also multiplying. I can do multiple things at the same time, but until you get comfortable with it, we won't do a ton of that, okay? So just let's look at how some of these work. There are many row operations that we can do. We're just going to practice kind of following some instructions. So on example 1A here, what we want to do is we want to interchange the first two rows, meaning we just want to flip-flop those. That also means that the bottom row in this matrix is going to stay exactly the same. I like for students when they're starting just to get comfortable with these to get in the habit of writing the thing that's not going to change first, so you're not tempted to do some changes that you're not intending to do. So all we need to do is interchange them. So the second row becomes the top row, 2, -4, 6, -2, and the second row will become what the first one was. So 0, 1, 3, and 4. And that's it. That's all exchanging two rows would look like. On the next one, on example 1B, what we want to do is we're going to multiply our first row, that new first row. We're going to multiply that by a -1/2, okay? So again, what things are staying the same? Since I'm only going to multiply the first row by the -1/2, that means that the second two rows are going to stay the same, 0, 1, 3, and 4, and 1, -3, 5, and 2. So the only thing that's going to change is that top row. So taking that top row by a -1/2 gives me a -1. A -4 times a -1/2 is a +2. A 6 times a -1/2 is a -3. And a -2 times the -1/2 is a 1. Okay, so that's that one. Then our last one that we're going to practice here is that we are going to add the first row to the third row. Now that language is important, and it's important for you to keep track of how that's going to work. So the first row is going to be added to the third row, which means the first and the second rows are actually not going to change. I'm going to use the first row, but it's not going to change itself. So these first two rows stay exactly the same. Then I'm going to add this row 1 to row 3. And when I do that, I'm going to get a 0, and I'm going to get a -1. I'm going to get a 2. And lastly, a 3. Okay, so that's how we would use, step through those row operations. And then in the next video, I will go through how we can actually use the row operations to help us solve some systems of equations. Also, the next page of your notes is split into two videos, so make sure that you watch both of them.